An unexpected notification in my inbox. A response from death row from Brian Patrick Miller himself, the man many knew as the Zombie Hunter. Just because a person wears a mask a couple times a year doesn't mean they are hiding behind one. If you want to dive deeper, the truth is, most people wear a mask of some sort. For the first time, his words in a series of personal messages from the killer as he sits in prison waiting for eventual execution.
He definitely seemed to be really interested in wanting to develop a rapport and relationship with you.
That's Dr. Aaron Nelson, a forensic psychologist unaffiliated with the cases involving Miller.
It seems like he's got a lot that he really would like to say, and he's sorting out the hows and the whys.
I began by asking him about the Phoenix Canal murders. He was convicted last year for stabbing Angela Brasso and Melanie Bernis to death as they were riding their bikes along the Arizona Canal in 1992 and 1993. His DNA was found at both crime scenes. I will mention that one out of numerous suspects gave details of the two cases and stated multiple times, years apart, that evidence was planted, but they believed it was their fluids and was meant to keep them quiet. That is as far as I am willing to say about this and this topic unless new, credible information comes forward. That's something detectives vehemently disagree with. His conviction in the Canal murders is by no means the end of his story. 13-year-old Brandy Myers went missing while collecting money for a school book-a-thon in May of 1992. She was last seen alive, 2 doors down from where Brian Patrick Miller lived. After Miller's arrest for the Canal murders, his ex-wife Amy came forward with a confession he had shared in confidence. Retired detective Stuart Summershoe worked Brandy's case for years.
In his story, he claimed that he killed Brandy, had her in his bathtub for a little bit, and when she began to smell, he then dismembered her and put her body into the trash can, which he rolled out to the curb, and then it was taken away.
Miller addressed my questions right away. I am only aware of Myers because it was something that happened in my neighborhood. The police went door to door asking people and looking in trash bins. I was at work when they did all of this. Later, when I was married to Amy, we were watching the news and there was a missing child case being reported on, and I related the Myers case and how it affected the neighborhood. I had been under the impression that Myers had been found because once the police left the neighborhood, I heard nothing else about her until my arrest. Amy has made statements that have been meant to hurt me and give reason for her to get full custody of our daughter. Each time she changes tactics and story to up the ante.
She's been interviewed multiple times by police, by media. She's been very, very consistent in the stories that she told.
Is there anybody else that could have killed her besides Brian?
No, I don't believe so. Brian was the one that was right there where she went missing. The confession he made to his wife, there was a smell about his apartment after that. I believe he's responsible for Brandy's murder.
Phoenix police have recommended murder charges against him in Brandy's case, but the Maricopa County Attorney's Office has declined to prosecute due to no reasonable likelihood of conviction. In June of 2013, 19-year-old Adrienne Salinas was at a party in Tempe. Around 5 a.m., she texted her boyfriend she was going to come over and called a cab, but she never made it to that cab.
A Valley family desperately trying to find their missing daughter. This is 19-year-old Adrienne Salinas.
2 months later, her remains were found in a desert wash in Apache Junction.
That was one of the cases that was looked at as possibly tied to Brian.
Miller has never talked about the Adrienne Salinas case at all until now. Regarding Salinas, I had no knowledge of the case and still don't know much about it other than someone suggested I could have been involved because I was at a house party nearby that day. If that person had been paying attention, he would have also noted I was with people we both knew all night, and there was no time that I was not alone and unaccounted for that day.
Brian would have to be the unluckiest person in the world to have his DNA turn up on 2 crime scenes, be in the area where a 13-year-old girl went missing, where Brandy went missing, be in the area where Adrienne went missing. There's coincidence, and there's just too many things happening that point to him as having involvement in these crimes.
Both Summershoe and Dr. Nelson believe this is a cat and mouse game between Miller and me. This may be my last correspondence. I have blocked all other media that has approached me in the past. I take a big chance with what little I have said.
I think that the benefit of continuing to engage him and see if it leads anywhere is well worth it. That's why I'm here. We all want to know how his mind works.
And I was about to learn more about that by simply asking him about his infamous character. I am not the zombie hunter. There is no zombie hunter persona. We all wear masks of some sort. When Angela Brasso and Melanie Burness were killed in the 90s, Brian Patrick Miller was barely 20 years old. So how did a young, seemingly shy guy become this in a matter of years, all while hiding a dark secret? Miller was ready to talk about it. A new character was born in 2013. With regards to the car, quote, zombie hunter, I purchased it in late 2013 to replace a car I sold to a Phoenix PD officer. I did not plan on building it up that way, but I knew a group of people that were part of the zombie scene, and they urged me to create a zombie response vehicle. I did not drive the zombie hunter in costume. I did not use a, quote, persona with the costume. When people talked to me, I took off the helmet so they would talk to me, not a mask. That idea of a mask became a pervasive theme in Miller's messages to me. Just because a person wears a mask a couple times a year doesn't mean they are hiding behind one. If you want to dive deeper, the truth is, most people wear a mask of some sort. But the state and media try to exaggerate that because I occasionally wore a costume and one of them happened to cover my face. They didn't bother to put it in correct context. I am not the zombie hunter. There is no zombie hunter persona. This is an idea created by people who want to make something out of nothing.
That was noteworthy.
This explanation intrigued forensic psychologist Dr. Aaron Nelson, unaffiliated with the Canal murders case.
He became very sort of patronizing and condescending and professorial, like, let me educate you about how the world works and about how people work. And that seems to me both part ego, but I would guess that he enjoyed educating you.
What I found interesting in the emails was his talk about wearing a mask, which I think is very revealing because I believe Brian is wearing a mask.
Retired Phoenix Police Detective Stuart Summershoe has investigated Brian Patrick Miller for years, as authorities believe he is linked to other crimes. Through that, Summershoe not only interviewed Miller, but also had access to all of his social media accounts.
On his Facebook account, there was a meme, I am more than what you see. And I believe that very much typifies what Brian is.
He revealed Miller's social media pages contained some of the most violent porn he's ever seen.
He minimizes the zombie hunter, but it's something he was very involved in. It shows his propensity to fantasy.
Miller was often seen posing with police officers in his zombie hunter car and costume. People like to say I sought out law enforcement. Reverse that. They sought me out because they loved the zombie hunter, because they missed driving the Crown Vic and loved what I did with mine. Because of the car, people wanted to meet and talk with me. I had no problem with officers approaching me because I had nothing to hide.
Even in that, he's sort of externalizing responsibility, like he was just meeting a need or responding to enticement or praise from others.
Miller told me he's a sensitive person, that his mother and other kids bullied him throughout his childhood, that his autism disorder made him different. He says his daughter hasn't talked to him in a year, but he hopes to return to regular contact when she's ready.
I have another suspicion for not confessing specifically to other crimes would be that he seems pretty invested in eventually having his daughter think that he's a good guy. And if that's all you have left, that's a pretty powerful motivator.
It may be impossible to fully understand a convicted murderer, a man police believe to be a prolific serial killer. There are so many things that have been misrepresented about me, and it will continue to be so because no one really wants to know the truth.
Do you think he's ever going to reveal more about any of these other potential crimes?
I mean, that's my hope, is that at some point Brian is going to have to realize that this is his life. He's not going to get out of prison, and he has to atone for what he did.
The truth isn't interesting. It isn't juicy. People want to be angry about something. They want to read something that makes them uncomfortable in some way.
One of my hopes is that he will find benefit in educating the public and law enforcement about how he was able to accomplish this and why he accomplished this. It could be a great asset and something that, he could go down in history for.
Does ego and notoriety supersede his personal pursuit of innocence, even in the face of conviction and reality? Only one person can answer that. People want a monster. People are more complicated than black or white. People say they want a utopia, yet enjoy chaos. Expressing myself through typed or written words could never truly convey who I am.